Have you ever noticed someone who never posts their photos online? No selfies, no celebrations, no updates, no trace of their daily life. Almost invisible in a world built on attention, and while everyone else is racing to be seen, these people quietly choose the opposite. They step away from the spotlight, they protect their space, they move differently. Psychology says this behavior isn't random at all. It reveals much more than most people realize about their confidence, their mindset, and their emotional depth. Some people don't post, not because they're shy, and not because they lack confidence, but because privacy to them is a form of freedom. They don't want their life to become a stage. They don't want strangers evaluating their happiness. They don't want their emotions tied to likes or comments. Where many people seek validation from the outside, these individuals rely on something else: self-validation. They feel secure even when nobody knows what they're doing, where they are, or how they feel. Their sense of worth exists whether or not anyone is watching. It's a quiet kind of confidence, one that doesn't need applause. People who post less also tend to have strong self-awareness. They know who they are. They know what they want. They know their values, their goals, and what actually matters. They don't need to follow trends to feel current. They don't need perfect angles or filters to feel good about themselves. They don't need to prove anything to anyone. They live by internal standards, not social media standards. And because of that, they're less influenced by other people's opinions. There's a form of confidence that doesn't look loud or flashy. It doesn't need attention. It doesn't need praise. It doesn't need visibility. People who rarely post often fall into this category. They don't have to see themselves through a screen to feel valuable. They don't need to capture every moment to prove their life is meaningful. Psychologists call this secure self-esteem. It's stable. It doesn't wobble when someone criticizes them. It doesn't inflate when someone compliments them. It stays grounded. This kind of emotional balance is rare, yet incredibly powerful. These people also tend to be deep thinkers, more reflective, more observant, more intentional with their presence. They don't speak just to be heard. They don't post just to be seen. They share only when something genuinely matters. In psychology, this is connected to something called an internal locus of evaluation. It means they judge themselves by their own standards, not the crowd's standards. They prefer meaningful conversations over surface-level attention, and they don't feel obligated to announce everything they do. The more they understand social media, the more they recognize its illusions. They see how easily it distorts reality. They see how often people compare their lives to someone else's highlight reel. They see the pressure to perform, to impress, to appear happy even when they're not. And instead of joining that cycle, they quietly step back, not because they're weak, but because they're aware. They choose peace over performance, depth over display, presence over presentation. Some people don't post because they don't want their life to become content. They want their experiences to stay real, not curated. They want their memories to belong to them, not to the internet. They want to live their life, not perform it. They don't need a camera to validate their happiness. They don't need to document every moment to remember it. They don't need to share everything to feel connected. They show up for themselves, not for an audience. They experience life through their eyes, not through a lens. They allow their emotions to be natural, not staged for attention. And all of that reveals a kind of confidence that is deep, steady, and authentic. A kind of emotional independence that many people spend years trying to develop. A kind of peace that can't be measured by engagement or followers. People often assume that those who don't post are boring, uninteresting, or isolated. But sometimes the opposite is true. Their real life is actually so rich, so full, so meaningful, they don't feel the need to prove it to anyone. A life doesn't need to be displayed to be significant. Some stories don't need an audience. Some happiness doesn't need exposure. Some people shine brightest when they choose silence. If you know someone like this, don't assume they're antisocial or disconnected. They might be living a life with more intention, more clarity, and more emotional intelligence than most people online. A life that doesn't perform. A life that doesn't chase attention. A life that simply exists. Quiet, grounded, and whole. Not everyone needs to be seen to feel seen. Some people carry their confidence quietly. Some people protect their inner world because they value it deeply. Some people are simply built for depth, not display. And if you enjoy exploring how people think, feel, and navigate the world in their own unique ways, keep listening. Because human psychology always has stories to tell, even when someone chooses not to say a single word.